You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We are broadcasting from two locations. Tony from the posh, plush offices of the Concierge Landscape
where they're
Studios.
just serving cocktails.
Yes. and what are they having right now?
I'm kidding.
And I am broadcasting live from the Extreme Exteriors mobile broadcasting unit powered by Skype. And we want to hear from you today, to 651-289-4488 to be on the show. Give us your thoughts. We're going to be talking about this idea next of a homeowner association that is starting to think of ways to make money. And this is, in some ways, isn't anything new. I can remember a number of conversations, can't you, Tony, with an HOA asking, how can we get more money without raising dues?
Yeah, often it's how can we cut costs.
Yes.
I think this is kind of a new slant on the budget process, is thinking about ancillary income or ways to make more money. Don't you, Gene? I don't. Yeah.
In some ways, yes. I think people are probably being a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for here? I think they're being a lot more aggressive in what they are looking for. I think if this happened in the past, these were things that dropped on someone's lap inadvertently. An example, one that always seems to be the case over the last good number of years, and that is cell phone towers. If an association happens to be at a high point in the city where they live, and they have a good number of stories, they could be getting approached by a number of cell phone companies that would like to put up a cell phone tower on the top of their roof so that there's better reception in the area, and typically have entered into long leases that go anywhere between 10 to 20 years and paying some regular income to the homeowner association. So that's something that I've seen for a while.
Yeah, and it's a significant amount of income.
Oh yeah, we have one association that we manage at New Concept. The association, I believe, is receiving about $72,000 a year in income.
Wow.
That's nothing to sneeze at.
Absolutely not. That's huge.
Yeah. But there are other things that that an association needs to remember when this type of things happens, because as we always say, there's always unintended consequences. and
true.
And some things you need to be aware of. Well, in this story that we're talking about in New York, Tony, there is a condominium association that's on the corner of Spring Street and 6th Avenue. Or I guess that's where the building was. That was next to the association, was on the corner of Spring and 6th Avenue in New York. And it was razed, torn down, and made into a parking lot. And now the neighboring co-op that had an exterior wall next to this building now is newly exposed to the street, and the homeowners there in the association saw an opportunity. And so they found advertisers who wanted to rent that space. And the result, the association now has signage on the side of their building, and they're gaining $40,000 a year in additional revenue. Sounds like a pretty smart idea, doesn't it?
It's a creative solution, yes.
Yes, it is. And typically these kinds of things are happening more and more because as things get tight with the economy, as foreclosures continue to climb or even hold their own, people are looking for other ways to try and try to take care of taking off that edge that homeowners have to share with
Absolutely.
increased
It's
expenses.
a great idea. And the article goes on to talk about selling interior space that's underutilized too.
Yes, and when they start getting more creative like this is where I've got some issues or concerns.
Okay. Well, talk about what kind of spaces are they looking at selling?
Well, in this one case, there was an association that realized that they had unused space on the top of their roof. Okay, and so it says for one board, they decided to take a look at the 62 units, look at a way to buffer costs. They said we analyzed and hired an architect, and they went through a process where they put in roof decks that they turned around and sold to unit owners. And that sounds like a good idea. Here they are building using unused space on a rooftop. They built 13 rooftop deck areas, and then they turned around to homeowners saying, who would like to buy these now so that you have an additional piece of living space that's all your own? Concern I have with that is now the association is getting out of the area of what is safe with the homeowners association's money, and they're getting into what's called speculation. They're becoming a developer. And I think that there may be some issues with an association if they were to follow this path, because they are a nonprofit corporation, and they are charged with what their duties and their scope duties are as an association. I don't know if developer is listed among them.
Well, we know they can't make a profit. Now, what about if they did something like this and raised funds to fund their reserve account?
That is, if they're probably going to be okay if they are underfunded with their reserves and they place that in their reserves. But what if they aren't? What if they are funded well with according to a schedule with their association dues, and they say, now we've made a bundle of money, and what we'll do is we're going to collect extra money and we'll hold over, and we'll use a lot of it this year, but we'll use a bunch of it next year. At that point, if that gets to be the case, they have made a profit.
Yeah.
And they cannot, and they could lose their nonprofit status, I would think.
At the very least, they're going to end up paying income taxes on that profit.
Oh, yes, for sure. That will be for certain. If there is, if they are taking in the amount of money needed for the cost and running of the association, there's no tax on that. But if there is a big upsurge with some income, that's going to be taxable, and so they may find out that the money that was coming into them wasn't as great as they thought. I had one association a few years ago. They ended up selling a unit, and they were fortunate enough to sell it for $80,000 more than what was owed to them. And one of the things that was forgotten was there was a tax consequence because of that, and they ended up having to pay $22,000. In this case, it wasn't a big issue, but if they had already spent that $80,000 somewhere else, and now to find that they have a tax consequence of about $22,000, that could be a costly error.
So, what do you recommend, Gene? Do you think people that homeowners associations should even pursue this idea, or what should they do?
Oh, I think they certainly do need to look at it and pursue it. I think they just need to be careful. I think a better approach would be if this association was looking at turning empty roof space into deck top spaces for homeowners. I would have first tried to talk to the homeowners to see who's interested and allow the homeowners to pick up that cost in developing an architect and the association just being willing to look at that space, but allow the individual homeowners to pick up that cost, because you would be able to see very easily who is interested and who's not. For the association to speculate and to have things built before they know who's interested,
I see.
I think homeowners could be upset with an association member saying you're spending money not in accordance with anything according to these documents, and you're in violation.
So your concern is more about the process that was followed than it is about the idea itself. So it certainly sounds like an area in which you should get tax advice, you should get legal advice, and you should make sure you know what your governing documents say.
Yep. And so, and if that happens, at the end of the day, it could be something that could work out and could be a big benefit. But there are some things that you need to watch out for. The last thing in this article before we go here, Tony, is one association is now beginning to take a look at naming rights to the association.
I saw that. What does that mean?
Well, when someone bought. When someone will pay millions of dollars, a corporation will, for a sports stadium, then it's called the Target Center.
Okay.
That's
a naming right. And so they purchased the naming right.
Here, the association wanted, I think, something that would be maybe the naming rights, so you'd end up having the Villages of True Value Hardware. Or Kentucky Fried Chicken Estates.
Oh, what do you think? Wait a minute. That's a novel idea.
Yeah, and Kentucky Fried, I think, would do it. Just a couple years ago, they were approaching cities saying, "We'll pay for patching potholes if we can pay for it with our own money and stamp our KFC insignia on the top of each of the potholes."
Really?
Yes, and a lot of cities weren't taking him up on it, but a couple did.
You know what? I say go for it. That's a temporary mark for one thing, and one that's not very. It's not like it's in your face as you're driving down the street.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting.
So some creative ideas. Well, hey, by the looks of things, we've got to take another break. When we come back, it looks like we have one more segment and time left for this story on an HOA president. Is he a tyrant or a reformer? And a victim of hate. You be the judge. We'll be back after these messages.